Your maternity leave is ending and you're going back to work overwhelmed about how you're going to be able to balance both work and motherhood. You're not alone, mama. So many of us mothers go through this, and it's absolutely fine to feel all these emotions. Hi everyone, I'm Akshita and welcome back to Mama Avocado Toast, a space where we discuss work, life, motherhood and everything in between. In today's video, we're going to dive right into what it really means to go back to work after a baby. The emotional roller coaster, the mom guilt, and the small yet mighty hacks that helped me survive and eventually thrive at the workplace when I went back. So let's dive right in. But before this, the first thing I want to talk about is that raw, messy truth nobody really prepares you for. Going back to work after a baby isn't just a date on the calendar. It's an emotionally daunting process. I remember the date before I went back to work. It was the last date of my maternity leave. I was sitting on my bed, breastfeeding my baby, preparing for the next day, and I remember feeling so torn. One part of me really wanted to go back to work, essentially get into the same identity that I had before the baby, and one part of me felt so much guilt for abandoning my baby. And that's when I realized that I don't have to necessarily divide myself. I can be that dutiful mother and that career woman chasing my dreams at once. And that's one thing I want to tell you mamas also. You're not a bad mother for wanting to go back to work. In fact, so many studies show that working moms have a range of positive benefits on their children. So it's very important to tell you that, because mom guilt is real. Even if you don't feel it, sometimes people around you make you feel it. So it's very important to tell yourself that no, I'm not a bad mother. I'm going back to work because my work means so much to me. And at the end of the day, if I'm happy, that's how I make my baby happy. Now that you feel ready to go back to work, let's talk about logistics. First, it's very important to understand that you should consider easing back into work instead of going back full form. You've been away for 6 months and it's absolutely fine to take one step at a time. Ask for flexibility options if your workplace offers, like hybrid or work from home. You may also consider starting out with slightly lighter projects and then building up as you go along. Second, figure out your home logistics. Who's going to be taking care of your baby while you're at work? Whether it's your nanny or a family member or a daycare, do whatever works for you. What you can also consider is making some investments that give you peace of mind. For instance, in my case, I found a baby monitor was a great investment. It saved me a lot of time having to constantly call my nanny and find out what the baby was up to. What you can also do is have a backup plan. So for instance, if your nanny is unwell, maybe you can have a family member that you can fall back on. If your family member isn't around, you can check if your workplace has a daycare that you can use for a couple of days. Whoever your primary caregiver is, ensure they have a list of emergency numbers that they can use to reach out to you or a family member in case they need to. Third, plan for feeding. If you go back to work at 6 months, like most moms in India, it's very likely that your baby will still be feeding. So if you're pumping, ensure you pump in advance and store your milk. If you're formula feeding, well, ensure that you have a steady supply of formula. But what's more important is that whoever your caregiver is, they should know what the feeding timings are, perhaps how much to feed, and even important guidelines like warming up milk, etc. Fourth, if this gives you additional peace of mind, do a trial run. This may sound extra, but it's not, because it will also help you understand on a practical level how much time it takes you. So you can actually practice the whole routine of getting ready, going to work, and letting your primary caregiver manage in your absence. What's more, this will also help your baby adjust beforehand. Okay, now you're back at work. Your laptop's open, you're wearing your workwear instead of your baggy pajamas. So work has really started. How do you navigate your workplace better? One, reset expectations, not just with your team, but also with yourself. You're not the same person you probably were 6 months ago. You've come back to work and you perhaps have a completely new style. Your priorities have also changed. This is not to say that your work isn't important, but essentially your identity has expanded. So give yourself grace. Second, open, transparent communication with your colleagues. It's very important to have conversations with your work colleagues, your contemporaries as well as your seniors, and set the necessary boundaries. You can let them know in advance perhaps that these are the timings I'm definitely not going to be available. So perhaps you can give them a number that they can reach out to you on in case of an emergency, or maybe designate someone else from your team who can act as your proxy if needed. Please do this without any guilt. Third, remember to time box and prioritize. One thing I learned after being a mom was just this whole exercise of inching out time, trying to do more in less time. And I think what I realized is that you cannot absolutely do everything at once. It's important to learn perhaps what's most important, what's a little less important, and so on. Also, I think once you become a mom, it's also very important to be a lot more mindful about your times in terms of when you clock in and when you clock out. So set very reasonable expectations with yourself and your team. Fourth, sneak in what I tend to call connection rituals. These are small practices but have very powerful impact. For instance, keep a cute photo of your baby at your workplace. Make sure that's the first thing you look at every morning. I realized that every time I looked at the photo of my baby, it gave me a lot of motivation to work extra harder because I really believe in being a role model for my baby. What I also did is that whenever I got a few minutes here and there, I would just quickly FaceTime my baby if they were up, have a quick conversation with them, tell them mama loves them and she'll be home soon. These are small things that you can do to ensure that you bond with your baby even while you're at work. And in all of this, the one thing that I would highly request you moms not to forget is the mindset shift. You're not a good mom if you're at home the whole day. You're not a bad mom if you're at work the whole day. Essentially, what we need is balance and rhythm. Some days will feel like a lot, some days will feel very kind, and you will have both as a mom. Essentially, if you've chosen to go back to work, remember this is a decision you've made not just for yourself but also for your baby's future. This is not a time for guilt, this is a time to be kind to yourself. So to every mama who's going back to work, you're brave, you're capable, I see you. And remember, you are allowed to chase your own dreams while raising a tiny human. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Do let me know if there are any topics you'd like me to make videos on. Till then, keep glowing, keep growing. From the bump to the boardroom, I've got you covered.